Tirpitz was the heaviest warship ever built by a European navy during World War II. It was only 2,000 tons heavier than its sister battleship, Bismarck. The colossal ship became a real problem for the Allied forces after being first commissioned in February of 1941. Its objective was to ravage the Baltic and block any merchant ships seeking to supply the Soviet Union. For almost 4 years, British and Soviet forces attempted to take down Tirpitz, but over 20 air and naval missions failed to achieve the objective. It wasn't until November of 1944 that the British launched an ambitious operation with over 100 aircraft to sink the German battleship for good. Still, Tirpitz refused to go down without putting up a fight. The Kriegsmarine rises. Once Hitler rose to power in the early 1930s, Germany's rearmament was already underway. But the Führer publicly embraced it and wanted all media branches to return to their former glory, including the Navy. The Kriegsmarine's first objective was to produce a small yet capable force that could challenge the British and French naval powers. Although this seemed highly unlikely, the German industry worked from scratch under the patronage of the Third Reich. The Bismarck-class super battleships envisioned by the German government were a direct response to the French Richelieu-class battleships ordered in 1935. They, in turn, were a response to the Italian Littorio-class battleships that Mussolini ordered to counter the naval supremacy of the UK. Although all superpowers from the First World War signed the 1922 Washington Naval Treaty to limit an arms race of naval nature, only a few actually followed it. The treaty established a tonnage limit for naval vessels, but it was repeatedly altered to fit the interest of the Allied victors. Bismarck and its sister ship Tirpitz initially fell within the 35,000-ton limit imposed by the Washington Treaty, but they increased their weight with later modifications. When Japan left the treaty in 1937, the tonnage limit was increased to 45,000 tons, and all global powers took advantage and modified their war vessels. On April 1, 1939, Hitler introduced Kriegsmarine Chief Erich Raeder to the military staff during a gala ceremony aboard the Scharnhorst, a new battlecruiser anchored at Jade Bay in Wilhelmshaven. The Führer also took the opportunity to present their newest and most powerful battleship, Tirpitz. Europe's heaviest and largest battleship ever built by then paid homage to Grand Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, who had served in the Kaiser's Navy from 1898 until the German surrender in 1918. During the ceremony, Hitler discussed Plan Z with Admiral Raeder. Its objective was to expand the Navy so that it could finally challenge the British and French fleets. Both men dreamt of building a naval force of 10 battleships, 4 aircraft carriers, 15 pocket battleships, 250 U-boats, and more than 100 destroyers and cruisers. The plan was achievable, but only in the long run. Experts calculated that the fleet would not be completed until 1948, and the Führer was delighted. Still, Hitler did not expect Britain or France to declare war on Germany after the annexation of Poland, but that's precisely what happened on September 3, 1939. The Kriegsmarine was not even at its minimal combat readiness when the war broke out, and there was no way Germany could beat the enemy fleets in a conventional manner. Admiral Raeder only counted with the 15-inch gun battleships Bismarck and Tirpitz, 3 11-inch gun pocket battleships, 2 8-inch gun heavy cruisers, 2 11-inch gun battlecruisers, 34 destroyers, and over 60 U-boats. Still, the Kriegsmarine would wage war against its enemies with all its might, and Bismarck and Tirpitz would be remembered for it. Battleship Tirpitz. Tirpitz weighed 42,900 tons when empty and up to 52,600 fully loaded. It had a length of 251 meters, a beam of 36 meters, and an approximate draft of 10.5 meters. Tirpitz was powered by a 160,793 horsepower Brown Bavarian Company geared steam turbine triple-screw propulsion system. Steam was provided by 12 oil-fired Wagner superheated boilers, which gave the Tirpitz an average top speed of almost 31 knots. Armament consisted of 8 15-inch guns housed in 4 twin turrets. Each had a range of 35 kilometers. One pair was placed forward and the other at the rear. The turrets were called Anton, Bruno, Caesar, and Dora. The 4 15-inch guns turrets were protected from enemy fire by 360mm thick steel in the front and 220mm thick steel in the sides. Secondary armament consisted of 12 5.9-inch guns and 6 double turrets placed along the ship, 16 4.1-inch guns, and over 28 37 and 20mm anti-aircraft guns that would later be upgraded to a total of 58. Tirpitz also carried 4 Arado AR-196 seaplanes for recon missions and anti-submarine warfare. One of the last upgrades featured 8 above-water torpedoes installed in 2 mounts on each side of the ship. Its main belt consisted of 320 millimeters of thick steel to protect it against enemy fire. Additionally, it was covered by 2 decks of 50 and 100 millimeters of steel. Before being commissioned in February of 1941, the Royal Navy attempted to sink Tirpitz while it was undergoing sea trials in the Baltic, but the aircraft failed to score any hits. After Bismarck was sunk on May 27, 1941, the Kriegsmarine opted to only use Tirpitz for operations in Norwegian waters and always near the shore, where German gun emplacements and airfields could cover it in case of combat. Tirpitz set sail for the Norwegian fjords in January of 1942. It was manned by a crew of almost 2,000 sailors and 100 officers. However, the British had already deciphered the Enigma machine by then and were able to track down the German battleship. In February, Tirpitz had its first taste of combat during a deceptive maneuver to lure British ships out of the English Channel so that a German fleet could return safely to port. This would be nothing compared to what was to come. Attack. In March of 1942, the Royal Air Force unsuccessfully launched a series of attacks to damage Tirpitz, resulting in the loss of over 10 RAF aircraft at the cost of 3 German aircraft. After many failures, the British decided to change its hunting strategy and sent a Frogman squad to deploy 2 Mk1 Chariot torpedoes. They never reached the target because they broke free from their towhooks. On September 7, 1943, the Führer sent Tirpitz and a task force of 9 destroyers to attack the Norwegian Spitsbergen naval base and destroy the Allied weather stations installed there. This mission became the only time that Tirpitz fired its primary 15-inch guns. The 50 shells fired tore apart the enemy installations. Moments later, a German battalion captured the region, and several Iron Crosses were awarded to the ship's crew. Weeks later, the British sent 10 new X-Craft midget submarines to drop mines and damage Tirpitz's hull. Only 3 U-boats breached the battleship's defenses, but they were destroyed by depth charges. Still, 2 mines damaged one of the ship's 15-inch guns, an oil tank, and 2 Arado planes. The flooding was contained, and Tirpitz returned to Norway for repairs. When the battleship returned to action on April 2, 1944, more than 100 British aircraft attacked it and managed to land 15 hits at the cost of 4 aircraft. 500 sailors lost their lives, and the superstructure was damaged. In June of 1944, the British attempted further air attacks, but Tirpitz refused to go down again, sinking the Reich's biggest battleship. Tired of constant failure, the Admiralty assigned the Royal Air Force Bomber Command to get rid of the German Colossus once and for all. Bomber Command decided to use the new 12,000-pound tallboy bombs to destroy the Tirpitz. These bombs had proven reliable to destroy concrete bunkers and could also tear through reinforced steel. In September of 1944, a force of 25 Lancaster aircraft carrying tallboy bombs departed from a Soviet base in Yagodnik to attack Tirpitz. One bomb hit the bow, penetrated it, and went through the deck and keel. Water flooded the bow, but Tirpitz survived. Bomber Command could not believe it. The ship appeared to be invincible. On September 29th, another strike damaged the Tirpitz's rudder and shaft. The Kriegsmarine then built a large sandbank around the battleship in Tromsø to prevent capsizing. Still, Tirpitz braced for combat, as the crew knew that the British would return in full force. And so they did when Operation Catechism was launched on November 12, 1944. 30 Lancasters, led by Wing Commander J.B. Willey and L.A. Williams, departed from Scotland to carry out the mission. The aircraft flew above radar detection range and only went down when they sighted Tirpitz. The German crew attempted to contact a Luftwaffe airbase at Bardufoss for immediate air support, but they couldn't reach through. No German aircraft showed up. All of Tirpitz's anti-aircraft guns opened fire with the support of shore batteries to take down as many aircraft as they could. But before they knew it, 2 tallboy bombs hit the deck. A yellow flash, followed by a massive cloud of smoke that rose up to 100 meters, indicated that the ship's ammunition had exploded. This was more than enough to take down the Beast of the Seven Seas. 10 minutes later, Tirpitz's port list had turned to 60 degrees, and the crew began to abandon the ship. Around 100 sailors that tried to reach the shore were caught by debris from one of the explosions of a 15-inch turret. Of the 1,200 crew members, only 82 were saved when a rescue unit cut through the battleship's hull and prevented them from drowning. It took the British more than 20 attempts to sink the imposing battleship, and a joint Norwegian-German effort would begin salvage operations in 1948. It took them almost 10 years to finish. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to our Dark Seas channel to watch more content related to historic naval battles. And let us know in the comments below about other topics of your interest.